Hi all, Lionheart here, and this is my second part of my PCs and laptops video. In fact, actually, this is just a PC second part, and this is a more budget PC. The PC I put together in my last video was just around £700 on that mark. And that's for someone who's been saving up for quite a while and wants to get something that's going to last them a very long time. And sort of get their value for money, which is why they're paying more, sort of 700 quid. However, I do get a lot of people asking for computers just over £400 or just about £500, which I would say probably if really you can probably get a computer slightly cheaper than this. I mean, you can put a Core 2, a low end, sort of a middle end Core 2 Duo, but actually this quad core that I've got in this build was actually cheaper than some of the better Core 2 Duos, which I would have tried to have got in, but it's better to get a quad core because of the price. And so, I mean, some people might say they can find a gaming computer for £300 sort of out of parts, and unless you can show me a link to this, I'd be quite wary when they say, "Oh yeah, it can run Macs or whatever." I'm not saying you can get a gaming computer for £300, but probably with something with lower spec and something that's not going to run games on Macs. This computer I've compiled here is going to run Empire on Macs, and probably a few other games maxed out as well. And this will last you a while. And also, I've chosen the components carefully so that you will only ever have to upgrade a few parts of this, really, to keep it going. You won't have to ever spend a huge amount of money on a whole new PC, and this is how I build my PCs, with that in mind. So I'm not denying, no, you can build a PC for a game PC for cheaper than this, but I would say this is roughly around the right price, just over, literally just on £500. This actually come to £504.96, including VAT, in part. So around the £500 mark, or just below into the 400s, I would say is the minimum that you can expect to pay for a good gaming PC that is going to play sort of Empire, especially on Mac settings, and quite a few other games. So I'll run you through what's actually the spec of this stuff. I've got a Novitec Iris tower case. It's a big empty case, basically. That's it. Very cheap. And then the careful buying here, and sort of a note at the back of the mind for future upgrades. I've got a Asus P5Q Pro Turbo Intel with a socket 775. And I've chosen this motherboard because this allows you to, if you wanted in the future, to get better processors. And there are one or two socket 775 i7 processors, and this one does support them. So, and the P5Q is a very good motherboard anyway. It's very reliable, very stable, and it can support quite a good bit of RAM. Only DDR2, but obviously, if you want DDR3, then you'd be spending more money than £500. So if this is your budget, then this is what you'd be spending. As I said about the processors earlier, I looked for Core 2 Duos. You could get one for 60 quid, however it was a pretty crap one and I wouldn't have recommended it. And as I've said, this is to play on Macs, and so that it's actually going to last you a while, because I mean, some people responded to my initial video saying, oh, I could get a PC cheaper than that, I could build one cheaper than that. Yes, but probably not necessarily everything maxed. I always, at the moment, go for ones that can max out stuff at the most reasonable price. And most people, I would generally say, that come and saying they have a budget between £400 and £500, which isn't too much, really. Obviously, it's a lot of money still, obviously, but in relative terms, it's not a lot compared to some things you'll pay. So the processor I've chosen is a Core 2 Quad Q8 300, 4 times 2.5 even gigahertz. Very nice FSB speed. And it can be overclocked very nicely, this one as well. I then splashed out a little bit on some decent Corsair 4 gig RAM, so and it's 800 megahertz. If I'd gone up to 1066 megahertz, this was going to cost the RAM was going to cost nearly £90 for a decent, good branded one, which is what you want to get really for the RAM, because memory RAM is important. So I've gone for the Corsairs, and they're also going to last you a while as well. So obviously it's 4 gigs, so you do want to be running this on a 64-bit operating system. And then the graphics card, I've put in the same graphics card I bought, which is a NVIDIA GeForce GTS 250 1 gig. And I mean this card I can't really fault it at the moment. Obviously no, it's not. It doesn't have the sheer power of maybe a GTX 260 or definitely not the GTX 275, but it is a good, steady, stable card, and it is very powerful. I mean, when I'm not running Fraps, as I said, I can easily turn all my settings up to ultra, turn all the special effects on. I can zoom right into the middle of battle, and I'll still hold steady at over 30 FPS. Normally, like zooming around the battlefield, I get 70, 80, 90 FPS when I'm not recording with Fraps. It is the heavy toll that Fraps takes that really batters down my FPS when I'm recording. But so as I said, it's a very good card, and actually, I've just dropped something. It can be overclocked as well if done carefully. But as I say, the standard edition, very good card. The hard drive I put in there, this was literally the one they had on offer on the front page, which I thought was quite, which is good. It's a Western Digital Caviar Blue 320 gig, 16 megabyte cache hard drive. 7,200 RPM. I mean, the 320 gig, maybe people want loads more space, but 320 gigs not bad for, I think it was about £34, including VAT. The PSU, carefully chosen again, 600 watts, and it's got a good number of amps on it, so you can upgrade your graphics card with this one. Obviously, if you decide in the future that you wanted a GTX 285 or a 295, then you're going to need to upgrade your PSU, because this thing doesn't have the power for that. It doesn't have the 12 volt rail support, but this will support you a GTX 260 and most likely a GTX 275. So it's happily going to run on the GTS 250, and the DVD drive I put in there, it's a Samsung one, and that was just over 20 quid for that. And so that came to a total of £504. I'll just quickly bring up a exchange rate for dollars, because I get sort of people from the USA wanting to know what they can get. So put in £504 US dollars. For you guys, that's $800, just over $800, $818. There we go. And 83 cents. And as I've said, I'm not denying that you can get PCs, custom built PCs, and even general PCs cheaper than this that will run games, but this will run sort of most of today's games, I would say, easily on Macs, with the exception maybe of Crysis. But again, also it depends on what your screen monitor resolution is and stuff like that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video showing you that you can get obviously a cheaper option. That other video, the custom built one I put in at the beginning, was just generally, I would say, when buying a computer out of parts, even if you're desperate to have it sort of right now, and you've got sort of £500, you think, okay, I'll sacrifice some of the stuff. Don't. Honestly, save up a bit more and get the better the PC in the end. I mean, that build that I showed for 700 quid, i5 and a GTX 275, that is going to hold out steady for a good couple of years, with you not touching anything in it, as long as it doesn't blow up or whatever. This probably happily run for the next 2 years before you start having to think about something to upgrade, maybe the graphics card. But I mean, really, it depends on sort of the type of person you are. I mean, if you're happy that in 2 years' time that you can still play most games on high and all of these games that are out today on ultra, then you're happy with it, then that's fine. And this will run, as I've said, about 2 years or so happily before you need to even think about doing something to it, unless obviously a technical revolution occurs in the next few months. So yeah, £504. This is a budget maxed out PC for today's games. Hope you've enjoyed. Please comment, rate and subscribe.